It's 6:30 in Reedfield, Maine.
There it is.
Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to the Select Board meeting for December 11th. And this is our last meeting, I believe, before Christmas and the holiday season. So I do want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone who might be watching and to our wonderful audience here. So we will begin with the minutes for the Select Board meeting of November 13th, 2017, which were in your packets. Can I have a motion or corrections in regard to it?
Oh, let's see, where am I? I'm down here.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as proposed.
It's been moved. Is it seconded by anyone?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented in the packet. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Warrants 21 to 24. John.
Let me see here. Warrant.
that
You
should
should have
be in-
that summary sheet on that
There's
second
a summary
page
sheet
there.
on
There you
there.
go.
There it is.
Yep.
Okay, warrant 21 is a regular warrant. That was a small one as far as warrants goes. A and B are state fees on registrations. C is a vendor check that is, I believe that was John Cushing for $26,795. That's one of the payments. 22 was payroll. Nothing unusual in payroll. Warrant 23, which you have in front of you, is a big one. And it's a big one because of the RSU payment.
Which is 293,000 out of the three.
That's
Well,
right.
out of all
Almost
350.
294,000, yeah. And then another payment to Cushing Construction for winter roads.
So my only question on this warrant was the cancellation of 00590. We just canceled that because the work wasn't done, or?
No, there was an erroneous billing. They had billed us for the material that had been chipped for biomass as
Okay.
opposed to the material that had been chipped for demolition and landfilling because it was the contaminated debris. And so we need to correct that. We got a little bit further along in the process. I said, that just doesn't seem right. Teresa and I went over it again, and we noticed that the slips for the tonnage were from Livermore, which is not where demolition material goes. So we did some research, found out that that was the biomass chips, and so after contacting the vendor, we're working on sorting that out. But that number should drop significantly as a result of that correction.
So there'll be a vendor payment, but on corrected slips.
That's correct.
Okay, that's good.
And a lot of that chipping came from the hurricane
Right.
debris.
A lot of it did, and fortunately our vendor that did the chipping of the brush for us, the clean wood, that did come at no cost. Typically it would be something like $5 a ton, but they did a lot of good work for us, and unfortunately they billed us the rate for the demo for the others, so we'll get it corrected.
This was mentioned in your report, right? That we received in an email, that you were sort of taken aback by the.
I certainly was.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, yes, indeed. And it's like, oh boy, ah, la la, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then did you just, this was a recent thing that you found? Okay.
So the warrant totals for 23 and 24 are $384,927.12, and so that excludes that 17.
That's correct.
Isn't it correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Do you want to make a motion in regards to that, John?
I'll make a motion that we approve warrants 21, A, B, and C, 22, 23, A and B, and 24. Okay, should we do this in two, or?
Well, I don't think we need to do 21 and 22.
We've already,
Yeah.
I think that's.
They're being put forth for public information,
Right.
but they've already been done.
Yeah,
Yep. So it's 23 and 24 we're doing.
for the total of
384,927.
384,927.12.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve warrants 23, 23A, B, and 24 in the amount of $384,927.12. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Thank you, it's approved.
Thank you, John, for taking care of this each week.
Now, just for clarification, who's January on?
Not I.
I'm the last
I already
one.
did mine.
Are you,
When's yours?
Mine ends
December.
this,
December.
Guess
you,
it's
you,
me.
you could
It's
have
Chris,
one more
yeah.
warrant, right?
He'll have an interim state fees.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm before,
Yeah.
the new guy couldn't do this time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was so
Are you-
You
are
can't
you
play
after
that
John?
anymore.
Okay.
So you got-
So Chris
I get a
starts
year.
January 1st.
I get a year.
And I remain the backup to all of you throughout the year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
if you can't get in,
And-
give me a call.
And I
Eric, could
called
we?
John as my backup.
Right.
Oh, my God.
Could we?
You're busy. Doing everything.
Because
else.
there are so many warrants now with the state fees going in every Friday and so on. Could we get either a schedule or get a notice a day or two ahead of time? Hey, John, you get this on Friday or you get this on Monday, so that we don't get to, Fridays are pretty automatic. You have to come in just about every Friday.
Yeah, they are.
Unless it's a holiday. Thanksgiving, I think we moved it somewhere.
We did, we
moved it
adjusted
to
for the
Monday, yeah.
holiday. Yep.
But, Mondays are a little tricky sometimes, and, we're all busy. And,
Yeah.
to get a call at 3 o'clock that warrants are ready and, I'm in Portland or something, I don't want to hold you guys up either, but I could plan my day.
Absolutely.
As we all could, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great.
Might be a little easier for me. I'm a
Yeah.
little closer.
You're around the corner.
Yeah.
She's local. She works at home.
Still, it would be advisable year-round, whoever,
Yeah, to get
if they can
notice.
give us a
Yep.
Yeah.
24-hour or something. And
I mean, it's
that-
been
and
good
that
just-
also makes it
yep.
easier for that board member, if they can't do it,
To let you know.
To line somebody else up,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We will move on to appointments, reappointments, and resignations. First up is the resignation of Tom
Donegan.
Donegan from the Recreation Board. We have a note from the chairperson of the Recreation Board, so I would take a motion with any comments and with regrets to accept that.
I will move that we accept with regret, with deep regret, the resignation of Tom Donegan from the Rec Board.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any comments?
Tom has been extremely instrumental on the Rec Board for years, for a long time. He's even come back from Florida at times to be here for budget purposes and so on. So, very dedicated person, and, I want to thank him for, as I'm sure everybody else does, for all these years of voluntary service to the town.
And wasn't he responsible for the beach, keeping the beach?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And he did a lot of work down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he,
Scaring the geese away.
Yes.
as well as when everybody left on the rec board at one time, he was the only one who had been there who came back immediately and said, okay, I'll pull this together, which was a huge task, and I'm very grateful to him for doing that.
Here, here.
So it's been moved and seconded to accept this resignation with regrets. All in favor? Thank you.
If we voted down, does it mean he has to stay?
No.
Because we have pending appointments coming up, we don't want to say anything about that.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Greg, would you go up to the microphone, please? Welcome. And we are considering your appointments, and we'll take them both together, to the Conservation Commission and the Trails Committee. And basically, this is just an opportunity, if you would like to say anything, Greg, to the board, or if any of the board members have a question, when we initially appoint somebody, we do this. So it's pro forma, if you will. I will say right up front, we just welcome your involvement.
Okay, thanks. I'm really no stranger to volunteer stuff. I was involved in bringing football back to Maranacook back in '98 through 2002, and then took over the MAFA program, and we raised $60,000 or $70,000 in a year to make sure that it stayed there. And I was on the road committee for I don't know how many years. I think over 10.
Number of years, yeah.
It says 14 here.
14, 10.
That's
You know,
impressive.
once you get to a certain age, what's 4 years? But yeah, I've been interested. I've actually helped build some of the trails with Mr. Keelty and those folks, and you know, it's good stuff. And I've always, and I think there's a synergy that can be achieved between the Conservation Committee and the Trails Committee, and that's one of the reasons that I thought to do this.
Great, great. I really appreciate that.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and move that we appoint Greg to the Conservation Commission for a term that will end at the end of June in 2020. And with that, also to the Trails Committee for a similar term to end in June of 2020.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Thank you for coming
Thank
back.
you. Okay, great.
My pleasure.
All in favor? Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the entire duration of the meeting, but I know you won't. Yeah, I know.
He'll be out on the trails. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Margaret, if you would also join us at the microphone. Thank you so much for coming and for volunteering to serve on the Age-Friendly Committee. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the board to begin with?
I'm so glad I got to watch someone else do this first. I am new to this, and I am new to all of you, no doubt. I've lived in Reedfield for 10 years now. I'm a Quaker pastor in Winthrop, and most of my work in communities has been through my denomination or through multi-faith groups, and it was through one of those groups that I heard about age-friendly communities as a national and indeed international organization. And I was thrilled that we had a committee starting here in town. So I have attended a few of their meetings, so I do know the committee members and have done a little work with them. And I just feel it's a really important aspect of the work we do together in community is to make our community a welcome place for people of all ages, and to know that this third stage of life that many of us are entering or in is an important one where we have both gifts and needs, as do all different age groups. And so to be addressing those and being a welcoming place for people feels important to me.
That's great.
Great, yes.
Are there any questions for Margaret?
I
No.
just
Think she'll be
thank
a
you.
good fit.
Yeah, and thank you for volunteering. It sounds like you already have a busy life of volunteering already. But it certainly is something that we need in our community, and I think it's been very well received so far. So thank you for helping out with this.
And I think you'll be quite an asset to the committee. It's a fairly new committee, as you know.
Yes.
I think this is,
Second
their
year.
second year?
Yeah, but now a permanent committee of the town.
Yes, yeah. And very active. The chair is very active. So thank you for for volunteering. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be able to finally do something to be contributing to my own home community.
I'll make a motion to appoint Margaret Edmondson to the Age Friendly Committee for a period of 3 years ending on 6/30/2020.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
Great. Without further discussion, all in favor? Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
And while I adore meetings, I think I will go.
Well, we're not going to be here all that long,
Yeah, you
so
won't miss that much.
you can always tune in on TV.
That's right.
We'll move on to communications. The select board, members of the select board that have anything they wish to comment or share?
Well, I would like to say something, but it's select board / library, friends of the library.
Go ahead.
We're selling note cards. There's 8 cards to a pack, and they're all refilled places that are depicted in the pictures, and the pictures are taken by Amy Tolman. And we sell them for $10, and they're at the library or they're at my house. So if
Great.
anybody wants any, let me know. It's money we're raising to help the library do things outside of their budget.
Worthwhile.
I just want to say that it was a great experience to have the joint meeting with Winthrop. And I think that it was a tremendous exercise in working together with other municipalities that have like-minded people with the best interests of their citizens to cooperate on such a massive undertaking. And I want to say thank you to Eric, thank you to Ryan Frost. It was cool for me because I'm, as a theater professional and theater teacher, working together to create something, a good product, I think is always part of the process. So thank you very much to all that. It's a thrilling thing to be a part of, and I appreciate it to everyone who's involved.
You hit the nail on the head. They were on the same page we were, and they're up against it a lot more than we are.
Yep.
But they realize how important it is.
Yep.
Also.
I think everybody does, and I
Yeah.
think it will make your town better. It makes our town better. It makes our area better. It's positive.
And Wendy Dennis did an excellent job with her presentation.
Yeah.
Here, here.
I commended her on that, and Eric popped right in and said, hey, you know what? We can do that. My suggestion was that we could take that presentation, since it was audio, or was it film
It was
also?
PowerPoint.
Right, but I mean, we were recorded, but just by voice that night, is that correct?
We had video as well.
We had video as well, and so Eric said, oh, we can get the PowerPoint in with that, and that can just be a public service thing, so she doesn't have to make another presentation, and I was like, oh, I just thought it was a really great meeting.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that, so I got to talk to Bill about getting that presentation in, so.
And I just want to make a comment, you stole my comment, but thank you.
Yes, okay.
About the transfer station, each time I go there, it seems to be running even better. The public seems to be really getting an idea about the lineage.
I like that. No, I like
Yeah.
language.
Language.
Language, do it. Go
Okay.
with it.
There are some people who don't, and, you know, a little bit more information, the guys being around a little more, maybe some signs, it's going to come together. And people are seeming to really respond well to it. They
Well,
like the you can get in and you can get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you come in and pull over, you're not, if you don't have your car empty, you're not blocking everybody else behind.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right,
You don't
so-
get there are people behind you anxiety.
Yes.
And I definitely do that because I take a long time to take my garbage off. So now I can just pull over to the side
Yeah.
and take my sweet
Yeah, pack a lunch and.
that's it. Make a whole day of it.
So Eric, thank you for your part in that.
Sure,
Yeah.
no problem.
Absolutely.
Always want more to be done, but I'm glad that you see folks starting to take to that a little bit
Yeah.
more.
And the guys there are great.
And I thought the joint meeting on the Maranacook Dam project was very informative although we've kept up with it, I thought we kept up with it pretty good, but Wendy was excellent. And I would like to thank that committee and the town managers for all of the work that's being done and for looking out for taxpayers' money. The cost has changed some since we started this day one, but you know, I don't think it's money that's been spent willy-nilly. It's a very good project, and we do need it. It's the tax base on that lake for the town of Reedfield, and I'm sure Winthrop, is huge. I never realized until we put the numbers together last year just how huge it was, but it is. So thank you, Eric and the committees, and we appreciate your work.
Here, here.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on then to town staff reports. So, Eric?
All right, I'll start right off with an update about that dam project. I did meet quite promptly with Ryan Frost, and followed up with a meeting with Ryan and Wendy Dennis and Larry Perkins to try to set a time frame. And we went back and forth on you know, the best time frame, but really what came out of the meeting, and this was a suggestion that Larry had, was that we should give the bidders an opportunity to put forward a cost for both FY18 and FY19 construction, recognizing pretty much all around that FY18 or this year is very tight and may not be feasible for the bidders, given the pre-order time and the fact that, you know, we need to have permitting in place prior to bidding, prior to award, prior to you know, all of construction. So I still believe that it's a long shot, but if we find somebody that can do it this year at a lower cost than what they might be able to do next year, absolutely, we'll go for it. So the other piece that we're looking at is construction funding, and we're both looking at that independently. Given the time frame, if we do want to proceed with FY18, we will have to look at a private bank as opposed to working with the Maine Municipal Bond Bank, although their rates can be pretty close. It might only be a quarter of a point different. So there definitely has been some good progress on that, and we are well underway with the permitting. That should be done by, geez, I think it was 3 months out, but we will have the permitting submitted before the 21st of this month. So very active. We originally had looked at hiring a consultant. However, Wendy Dennis and the Cobussy Watershed District once again stepped up to the plate and took a lead on making sure that permitting happened for us. So everybody is working together and continuing all of that cooperation that you noted at the meeting. So I'm very optimistic that we will move this project forward. And while I think FY18 might be a little bit of a long shot, it's a possibility, and FY19 will be a lock even if 18 doesn't happen. So.
And so that saved us money off the total project by not having to hire a consultant to do the permitting?
Yeah, probably a couple $1,000s.
Nice.
So.
Here, here.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
helps when we
That's
make
right.
that payment to Cobussy Watershed District. It's very worthwhile.
She's been earning her keep and then some the last
Nice.
couple of years here,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
absolutely.
Great.
So that's a little bit more detail than I normally go in during my report, but I thought that after all that talk, I had to give a little bit more detail on it.
It's a big piece.
Yeah, it
is.
is. It is. So I will just give a quick summary of our maintenance and infrastructure. All of our mowing equipment has been winterized and put away. That was a big priority this year to make sure that that was done properly and completely. The holder is back, and we weren't able to get the seals in time to do that work, so there might still be a small drip there, but the seals are on order. When they come in, they will come to us and install them, but a lot of other work was done to that machine to make it much more functional, operational, and safe. The town's other winter maintenance equipment has also been prepared and tested. We had a nice run this weekend, and looks like we got more tomorrow, so we're in it, no question. Just a few tips and suggestions. I hope folks can check their mailboxes for the structural integrity and for the proper distance, either from the road or from the ground, so the height and the setback. If you comply with USPS guidelines, you are much less likely to have an incident with snow damage. Also, I want to remind folks who do plow or who have their roads plowed that it is illegal to put snow into the road, and it is also illegal to leave debris in the road if you're pushing the snow across the road. You can push it across the road. It's helpful if you don't block the town ditch, because in the spring, the water's got to go someplace, and if it's clogged up, it can be a problem. But those are just a couple of issues we saw last year. We had some people putting some snowbanks. Granted, there was a lot of snow last year, but if you can avoid it, it's always best to keep it out of the roadway. With respect to personnel, I want to note that we have a special staff training session on the 21st. This is to cover a number of topics, our annual training, but also a special session on harassment in the workplace. The hiring process for our new librarian is coming along well. We keep getting applications, which is great, but we're moving along quickly, and I expect we will be able to make a hiring announcement this week. Not ready yet, but we're headed in that direction, so very pleased about that. Also, I want to note that we have initiated a hiring process for our full-time maintenance position following the resignation of Bruce Chandler. That is a full-time position. It's union. The pay is $15.76 per hour exactly, and we have some great benefits that go along with that position. So I just want folks to know that if you have interest or you know someone that has a broad set of maintenance skills, that we're looking. And then announcements, I have a few brief ones. I want to thank all those who attended the volunteer open house and annual chairs meeting. It was not the first thing that comes to mind on a evening after work, but we had a few people come out and a lot of interest from them. And I think the chairs did an excellent job, as usual, of explaining to each other and to the board and to anybody else in attendance what they do and why it's important and where they're headed. So I really enjoyed that meeting.
Could we televise that?
That one was, because of the
Future
kind
years.
of round table nature of it, we did not record that. It would have been a tough one to capture. So, but
If
in
we
the
could
future,
find a way of doing it in the future,
sure.
I think it'd be informative for the public out there, and you might get some more people to volunteer.
Perhaps especially that second part where we had one at a time and maybe questions back and forth, but not so much the chaos of everybody eating cookies and drinking coffee. Yeah, no, I think it's an excellent idea, and I probably should have taped that second half, so my apologies for not going through with that second half. The 2018 dog licenses are available. We've made some great progress with dog licensing and vaccinations the past couple of years here, so we are pushing that. So if you have your pets and you want to get a jump start on the next year, we are ready for you. Also, in my final announcement is that the new town website will be ready and online by the end of December. So very much looking forward to that. Keep an eye out. Check back often, and give us your feedback, because the best time to correct things, the best time to add content, the best time to move things around is right at the very beginning. And so I'm very much looking forward to feedback from the board and from the public on that website. And it will be accessible through the GovOffice website for the next 6 or 8 months. Then it will switch over to the reedfieldmaine.org web address, although you'll be able to get it from either one currently, but the moral of the story is the old website will still work, the web address will still work. It will just redirect. And then my treasurer's report, things were a little bit tumultuous in November. We had some kind of weird numbers come up. A lot of that was due to the fact that we had a third payroll, and that can skew things when you have third payroll in the month. well, it makes your monthly totals go up by about 50% in some cases. So some interesting stuff there. Also, our audit, we have been making great progress with that. The field work is now complete. We've had a few follow-up questions and requests for information. We're being as prompt as we can with those. And I do expect that we should, perhaps sometime in January, if the process and the pace keeps up, have a draft audit for you folks to look at and for the budget committee to look at, which is several months ahead of where we've had it in the past. So I'm looking forward to that information being available. I bet Andy is too. And my last note is that we did check reconciliation through the end of November, the 30th, and we did have one bounce check, but no other unusual activity was reported. And that's my town manager and treasurer's reporting. Any
Thank
questions?
you, Eric. Questions?
We've lost our maintenance person, Bruce Chandler. And from what I understand, Anna's picking up a lot of the slack from that on top of her position. Is there any way that she can be compensated for that extra work that she's doing until we hire somebody?
She's compensated under union rules, which provide for overtime and so forth.
Yes, and I can say that she will be getting some overtime this week.
She will.
Certainly,
Okay.
with the two
Yeah.
snow events that we
These,
had.
these aren't,
I don't want-
they're hourly positions, so.
I just don't want one job to suffer
Yeah.
because she's doing another one and trying to stay into,
Yeah.
the hourly.
Understood, yeah.
Right.
And, I mean, as far as timing goes, it's a rough time of
Yeah.
year to lose somebody, but it's also a good time because Anna just finished putting the cemeteries, to bed for the winter. Those are all tidied up and put away. Her work with animal control has dropped off some. As you get to the winter months, you have less stray animals, less livestock moving around. So she's in a little bit better place. But she certainly is receiving a lot of my appreciation and gratitude for stepping up, as she always has, and doing this work very well, and under varying circumstances.
So
So
pass on the board's, I'm sure, appreciation
I
for
absolutely will.
for stepping
Yeah.
up.
She
Yeah,
always says such a positive attitude,
Yeah.
Yeah.
She really does.
Well, it's pretty much, I think, in line with the sort of philosophy of the town is, when there's a space that needs help, then let's help. And I appreciate that on everyone's behalf. I think it's how we do things here.
Yeah. And she isn't the only one. We do have transfer station staff helping out as well to do a little bit of extra work. They're changing light bulbs in Nord Elms now
Right.
instead of
Yep.
our maintenance. So everybody's stepping up, and they're also on reserve for plowing as well. So
Okay.
everybody is,
Good.
as you said, stepping up.
Yeah.
So
Very good.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Nicely done again, Eric, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I guess I would add, please thank Teresa for her work on the audit. You did make a
Yes,
comment
I
in here
did.
that, particularly for the field work, that her focus really helped get that done.
yeah, she was, as always, exceptional in preparing for the audit.
She's behind the scenes, but she's always helps us. I mean, she's a big part of what
Oh,
we get
huge.
done, yeah.
Huge part.
And when you
But she
work on
doesn't
the
make-
budget committee, you sure find out how much work Teresa does.
That's right. Yeah.
But she doesn't make any noise, so.
We'll move on to boards, committees,
All right.
commissions, and departments. In your packet are the Cobussy Watershed District minutes for August 8th, the Trails Committee minutes for September 26th, the Age-Friendly minutes for October 11th, and the Solid Waste and Recycling draft minutes for October 22nd. I want to thank all those committees for their work and for their submission of the minutes so that we could take a look at those. We'll move on to public communications. Are there any members of the public that wish to address us tonight? We will move on to old business. And I would move that we take old business in reverse order, and we conduct a second reading of the revised cemetery ordinance since the cemetery chair is here. And then,
I agree.
okay, so let's go on to that. The cemetery ordinance is in your packet.
I don't know, it came
Or were you
next in
here,
my
or were you here
packet.
for both, actually, weren't you? Mostly cemetery. Well, okay, we'll go ahead with this out of order. So we'll start with 18065, which is to conduct a second reading of the revised cemetery ordinance. And
56, not 65, am I right?
56.
65.
18065, the second one down,
Yeah.
under old business.
Okay, then on the
Ordinance, it
ordinance,
says.
it's got 56.
Well,
I
that's
may have
interesting.
transposed those,
Is it 65?
I do not know.
Back to school, we'll know, we'll get it corrected
Okay,
in the recording of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great
I thought I was
defense.
on the wrong page, so I,
Well, I'm always on the right page, and I'm looking at the cemetery ordinance itself. So we'll start with that. Any comments, or questions, or anything you want to add, Andy?
Just, I appreciate the select board's improvements from the last time. I think I got them all. I went back and reviewed the tape.
Yeah, right? Thank you, Bill.
well then, if you made all the changes we suggested, I would be happy.
Well, I read this over, and I didn't do a check back on the changes. I just didn't see anything out of the ordinary on this that concerned me in any way, shape, or form. So, can I have a motion in regards to this, that we would approve the second reading?
I would make a motion that we approve the second reading of the cemetery ordinance.
And a
Second.
second, so with the approval and seconding of this, you're also voting that we are planning to send this ordinance out to voters.
Yes, I would, would you like me to revise my motion?
Well, we are
Or
going to have.
Can we just do it on
we-
discussion?
Yeah, we'll just note it within discussion.
Okay.
I mean, we could choose to send it out later to voters, depending on some priority setting, but I don't think we wouldn't do that, because,
I would just suggest that we, where we're putting it out as an ordinance, that we have legal review,
Mhm.
and then.
Yep.
Yeah. That's right, it would have a legal.
And then put it out for the town meeting this year.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it's fair for the committee to know what our plans are. It's not just hanging someplace.
No, but we need to formalize it. It's gonna go on a warrant at some point when we
Right.
actually establish the warrant. And so if we had 40 ordinances, we might establish some priorities.
Right.
Yeah. We'll talk about that at another time. But, okay, so all in favor of that second reading? Okay, so we've approved the second reading of the cemetery ordinance so that we can get it to legal review
Absolutely.
and prepare it for a presentation to voters.
Just great work, Andy. Thank you, and everybody who's involved. I think it's great to take care of our cemeteries.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a,
Pardon?
You thought I might be here for one more item?
Well, the second item is, the second item is 16056, which is to approve a revised draft of the budget process.
numbers
Are you the budget chair?
Yeah.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
happens, you know.
Look what happens.
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Eric, do we have that revised? I'm not sure I have that in front of me.
We
it's
do.
in this, it was in our packet.
It's in the packet.
It's in the packet?
It should have
Oh, okay.
highlights either yellow or.
I always see this,
gray.
I always see this as the last page
Yeah, I
for some
couldn't,
reason.
Yeah,
the
no, I,
highlights didn't
Oh,
come
okay.
through, but I'm good.
Okay,
one-
great.
That one was
Good.
carried forward inadvertently.
So the highlights of the change meetings, right?
Yes, and those, so I'll start by saying that the Budget Committee was very good in working to try to find some dates and times that would accommodate everybody. So the meeting dates for the Budget Committee have been changed. They were originally on Mondays of the week. However, they were able to be shifted to Thursdays during the same week, which does help keep that balance and the back and forth that needs to happen. So they were able to adjust those dates and agree to them all. However, they have a member who is not able to make Monday meetings. So these three highlighted meetings represent Thursdays during what would normally be a regular select board meeting or perhaps a special one on a Monday. So I guess what I'm looking for is to see if the board has any conflicts with those 3 dates. If not, we can put this one down as pretty well sorted out.
Can you just tell me which 3 they are, since the highlights aren't on the,
Oh, it didn't go through,
No.
okay, all right. We have, it would be bold also.
Oh.
Maybe that came through.
right, so the 22nd of February, the 29th of March.
Correct.
And the 19th of April?
Correct.
And in particular, the 29th and the 29th of March and the 19th of April are the public budget meetings,
Yes.
just as a note.
I have no problem with Thursday.
I don't either. I mean, if we were to have it on a Monday in terms of doing other select board business, we would have to do that in a short meeting, usually a half an hour before. We could accomplish that if we had something we needed to approve that week without having a second meeting on the Monday if it's something that could hold till Thursday. So I think, you know, as long as, Dennis?
I'm good.
Thursdays work?
Thursdays.
Catherine?
Thursdays are a conflict if it's often.
If it's
I can-
often.
Right, I can miss what my commitment is on Thursday if it's not often, and this is not often, so this will be fine.
All right.
So once a month is not
Yeah.
often.
Well, once a month for just 3 months.
3 months,
Okay.
yeah.
Or just 3 months, yeah.
Once a month, year-round, that's not
Not
gonna
12
work.
months.
Okay.
That's often.
All right. Great, well, thank you.
So,
Aren't we easy?
You are, and there's
Yeah.
one last really important thing I want to say, but Bruce, did you want to add something?
no, go ahead, please.
All right. The school has put out their schedule. It is in full form behind this. However, the one date that is the most important for the school town interface is the school budget joint meetings. And that is on March 7th, 2018. So if there is, you know, one meeting that residents of this town and certainly the select board should be attending, it would be that meeting.
And that'll be at Maranacook.
That will be at Maranacook. However, all of these budget meetings are very, very important, and I'll let you folks wax on the importance of all of that. But we've got some big ticket items coming up for discussion and consideration. So even more than in the past, I think that this school budget process is critical. So.
So, I'm not sure if it's necessary to take a motion on, is that what you were looking for, an actual motion and approval of this schedule, or just consensus around?
Consensus
This
is
has been
fine.
working.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay, great. So we have consensus that that's what we'll work
Yahoo.
on. And I'll just say up front, there's always the possibility of a storm or something, so something may be a moving part at some point in the future. For some reason, we live in Maine and white stuff comes in.
Well, and
True that.
even in October, we could have a snow day.
Yes.
have
Okay,
any?
great.
Yeah. Yep. 3.
We're concluded with old business. We'll move on to new business, which is to schedule a workshop on ordinance work priorities. We have a lot of ordinances. One of our goals as a select board is to review governance documents and to update them as needed. And what I thought I would do is put together, with your help, a workshop where we actually not only talk about the priorities of which ordinances we really need to work on first or whatever, but kind of how we want to approach that. So it would almost be formatted for about an hour, I would say, like our retreat. In other words, we would perhaps set some goals. There'll be an informal work sleeve rolled up workshop. We won't be voting on that evening. So maybe it's 90 minutes, maybe an hour is unrealistic. But kind of how do we set priorities to do that? Who do we involve along the way? Which ones do we know are real priorities that we need to be working on? One of the concerns I always have is how many do we put in front of the public? And we do always put in front of the public what is necessary, obviously, but that is explainable and so forth. We already have a ballot that has 40-something questions on it, and to expect thorough, good discussion and process on 20 ordinances, for example, would be a very unrealistic thing for us to do. So,
But we have a cemetery.
so all I want to do now is not have that discussion, that's a workshop, is, we can do this early next year, we can try to squeeze it in December, we don't have another meeting scheduled, but we're getting into holidays and some distractions there, so.
Can we work backwards, would
Yep.
be my request.
Yes.
I'm just looking here at the budget thing.
That's a good thing to look at while we do this.
Right, because we don't have, the referendum question hearings are on June 2nd.
Well, the deadline for warrant article and ordinance submissions is March 9th. So,
Okay, so is that submissions to us?
That would be for legal review. So those would be essentially the final drafts of those
of what would go on
documents.
the warrant.
Okay, so if we have to have final drafts by March, I don't want to do this any later than, say, the first week of January, second week of January. Because if we're going to have certain ordinances that we want to have time for us to review, have a second reading, have public comment, March 9th is right around the corner from January.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
And I don't think we're going to gain anything by doing it in December, truly. I don't think we're going to do any additional work over the vacations.
I don't know, sorry.
No.
No, I was thinking, but that, you just mentioned Thursday.
Well, we have a select board meeting 1/8. Can we
Yeah.
have a workshop in that select board meeting, or you do want to have 2 meetings in January?
You know, I think, I don't mind having a long evening, but I think this deserves its own
Workshop.
separate
I
workshop
agree.
night, where we can, you know, we plan a process and an agenda that will take us, say, 90 minutes, but we want to feel comfortable if we had to go a little longer or whatever.
I was looking at the 4th, which is that Thursday.
That would actually be fine for me.
And then our regular meeting would be right after on that Monday.
You're going to be off between the holidays? Is that what your plan is?
I'm Christmas week, so I'll be back the 3rd.
So the 4th would be a doable for you?
The 4th is doable,
Okay.
entirely.
Could have Tuesday.
All right, because the 2nd
Is
is the
Second is a
holiday.
Tuesday.
The 2nd, yeah, I think the 2nd is actually the legal holiday, right?
Yeah.
No, the 1st
First is a holiday.
is the
It's
first is what
Monday.
day?
It's
Monday.
Monday.
Oh, it's Monday.
Okay.
So I'll be back the 2nd, sorry.
So we'll be back, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that giving you enough time to prep for a workshop?
Oh, this is just I mean, I don't think I'll be doing too much work
Okay.
on this one. This is really an interested parties, I
Yeah.
think, type of workshop. I'm kind of shooting at that a little bit, but I think that if people want to bring things forward, I mean, the cemetery committee ordinance, if that's the interest, because this is what you're looking at, Bruce, right? It's trying to schedule and prioritize these things. And
Yeah, I'm trying to prioritize which ones we want to work on, and I also want to get a sense of how we approach that work, because I don't think we, I think it would make sense to have some discussion on that for the first part of it, but
Sure.
then I think we ought to come up with a priority list of,
Yep.
and by the way, that priority list doesn't need to be confined to 2018. We can say,
No.
these are the priority to put in front of voters in June of 2018, and we think these next 6 are priorities for the following year. And
And
it's
I-
probably if we get out further than that, it's not,
I'd kind
Useful.
of like us to just continue that discussion that we had at the last 2 retreats. I know you
Mhm.
weren't at the
Yeah.
one prior to this, but about moving towards a charter.
Mhm.
Because we had decided that that's probably where we were headed, or at least in formalizing more of our ordinances.
at
So
it.
if we do go to a charter, we are much more prepared with less work in that area. And there still are people who are asking about having more input in a coming together for town meeting in addition to having the secret ballot. And we know that we can't have both of those unless we have a charter.
You could have both without a charter.
We have found out, but is it a binding
Um,
meeting?
Yeah, it would be. The town of Rumford does that. one of a few towns in the state that actually have done both. But anyway, that's an aside.
Well, no, but that's
Well, no,
something
that's very
interesting.
important.
That would be germane to this.
They're doing the ordinances, aren't they,
They're-
at town meeting and doing budget approval by secret ballot?
I think they're doing a little bit of both. But
Is they setting budget amounts?
I'll be brief about it, but my understanding is that what they've done is they've tried to separate out issues that they think warrant and need and deserve more debate and discussion and education, perhaps, and whatever those items may be, those are what they pull into the open on the floor town meeting, and it's much less, it's a much smaller subset, so it makes for a much quicker meeting, I think. And then they have a lot of the more rote routine budget questions on the secret ballot. So they've been doing that for 2 or 3 years now, I think, having a short open town meeting and then having a secret ballot to supplement.
Can we ask the town manager to maybe get us some information on that?
You just did.
Yeah, and I'll put that together for the 4th along with some maybe,
Because
yeah.
that was driving some of why we have been looking at
Right.
more ordinances. I mean, they're good to have anyway, because a lot of things in towns need to be governed by ordinances so that we all know what the rules are and that we're all following the same rules, and that we don't have rogue things happening. But we don't want to become over-ordinanced and over-governed, but we don't want to find ourselves getting caught by things that, oh, we really should have put that in writing and we didn't, and now look at what we have. Because towns have found some real big problems with that, so.
And I think if we could get that information, then that'll give us a better idea as to whether we want to pursue more information on a charter, or if this is going to satisfy the needs or requests of some of the residents.
Well,
If we don't, the way I feel, that if we don't have to do a charter, then maybe we should not do a charter, but if we have to, then, you know.
well, I think we're probably getting a little ahead of ourselves into discussion that we need to have at that workshop. So my goal was
That's fine.
to date that.
Is that on the 4th?
But no, every bit of discussion that we've had helps inform us of what to put together for the agenda, I think.
I just
So that's
want
good.
to, you guys have a budget meeting on the 4th. No, Eric can't be two
Oh,
places at once.
yeah, no, I can't. All right.
All right, because they're
Thank you.
meeting on Thursdays.
Excuse me. Thank you for checking.
But 4 and 7 is 11. So the following Thursday
That could
would
work.
be available.
Yep.
And that's still pretty much in the beginning of the month.
And we're back to Thursdays. Is that
That's
going to be a
okay.
problem for you?
Yeah, I think that one's all right.
On the 11th, on a
Well,
Because we could do it Monday.
I mean, we could do it on a Monday. What is our, let me just see what we expect to have for board meetings in January. The select board meeting for 1/8 is the first budget draft. And then there's,
You could have one on the 22nd,
we could have,
and there's also the 15th.
To me, that's too
there's the
far.
15th.
Which would be
I
a
mean, the
Monday.
15th is available.
That's Martin Luther
Nope.
King Jr. Day.
Oh,
The
that's
town
right. It has
office
to
will be
16th.
closed.
So it'd be
Have
the
to be the
16th on the
16th.
Tuesday.
Let's see. Yeah.
And
could
That would
work.
be the third Tuesday of the month, is that correct?
That's correct.
Because I have a second Tuesday of the month commitment.
It'd be the 2nd, 9th, and 16th, yep.
I'm
Is
fine
it-
with either.
15th?
It's the
16th?
16th?
I kind of like the 11th better just because it spreads things out for me some. But
Okay.
that's-
The
I
11th?
would concur if we could do the 11th.
11th? 11th?
11th is fine.
11th?
11th?
11.
Okay, it'll be the 11th.
So it's
111.
Okay.
Thursday, the 11th.
11118.
There's a 2-0 in there, just so you know.
Oh, sorry about that.
What a math teacher.
That's right. I was speaking binary code, 110, 1110,
That's
111.
right.
Do you guys have a time that you want to start?
It's a great idea.
6:30 probably.
6:30?
6:30.
6:30?
Classic time.
6:30 to 8.
I like
How's
that.
that?
That's a great, I like the roundness of it.
Dennis. Take a nap.
Yeah, okay, yeah, gotcha. Have some Benadryl, as my mom used to say. Yeah.
We have that workshop scheduled.
Well, okay then.
All right.
I am going to move that we enter executive session for a personnel matter, which is to review the town manager. This is 1 MRSA 4056A. We will be inviting the town manager to join us. There will not be any action coming out of that except to adjourn our meeting. Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? We'll move to the downstairs then, and Eric, you'll join us, right?
Yes, I will.
Great. Thank you, Kristen.